Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Discover with Spinati. Today's episode number 136. Today we're talking about bad breath and what to do about it. Most of us don't actually know whether or not we have bad breath, and the first time that we are aware of our having bad breath is when someone else tells us that we have bad breath. And it actually can be quite embarrassing. So, today we're going to talk about how we can avoid this scenario so that we can avoid the embarrassment of someone telling us that we have bad breath. 9 times out of 10, this is literally the time that someone else tells you that you have bad breath. Other times, you actually don't have no idea that you're walking around with bad breath. And it can be very embarrassing. It's like walking or it's like driving a very muddy car into a wedding venue, when everyone else has very shiny cars and you're driving and your car looks all muddy and looks different than anyone else. It's quite embarrassing. It's an embarrassing situation. And I completely understand because we're very social creatures, and obviously having walking around with bad breath isn't something that anyone wants to have. This is the topic that is going to be very quick, but rather it's going to lead you to having a solution with regards to having bad breath and for you to actually check to see whether or not you have any kind of these kind of situations. So the first thing is that how do you know if you have bad breath? Well, unfortunately, the only real way for you to know is whether someone else tells you if you have bad breath. So, and I'm not talking about, by the way, there are two different types of bad breath here that I'm talking about, which is the first one is in acute, not cute, but acute, ACUTE. Okay, acute type of bad breath, which is basically when you eat like garlic, when you smoke, when you ingest anything that has any kind of bad odor to it, then you have the very short latency with regards to bad breath. But then your mouth washes it away, and you're good after that. You're not going to wake up with this kind of syndrome. But I'm talking about the chronic bad breath, the bad breath that has no association to the food that you're consuming or tobacco or anything like that. It's just something that is with you day in and day out, irrespective of whether or not you just drink water. That's the type of bad breath that I'm talking about. Now, that type of bad breath is really caused by one thing and one thing only: bacteria. And bacteria, yes, bacteria seems to be the culprit to many things, but it is specifically the culprit with regards to bad breath: halitosis. Now, what can you do about it? The first thing that you can do is go see your dentist regularly. The first thing that you should do is go see your dentist regularly. Now, the reason is because if you don't get your teeth checked regularly, then you could have an accumulation of bacteria in the form of plaque, which builds into this stubborn calculus, this stubborn, tenacious, very, very sticky substance that becomes into a very hard substance on your teeth and your roots, which then causes gum disease and then periodontal disease. And then you have a permanent state of bad breath. Now, that permanent state, fortunately, can be you can get rid of it, but you do at that point need to see the dentist more frequently. One of the main things that causes this accumulation of bacteria and accumulation of plaque is crowded teeth. Now, when you have crowded teeth, it becomes incredibly difficult, and I mean incredibly difficult, for you to actually get rid of all the bacteria from all the nooks and crannies around your teeth and gums. And the majority of people, a lot of people that have crowded teeth, unfortunately have periodontal disease. And periodontal disease simply means it's an accumulation of bacteria that cause a destruction of your tissues around your tooth, whether it's the ligaments that are holding the tooth to the bone or the bone itself. So that is the main culprit. The main culprit is bacteria, but then when you have crowded teeth, then you have an accumulation of the bacteria, and that causes you to have bad breath over a long period of time, and it becomes chronic. And it becomes something that you have to really take care of so that you don't get a recurrence of it. Having crowded teeth is something that your dentist will tell you about, and that's why it's really important for you to go see your dentist regularly. These are the two biggest tips that I can tell you. Is one, watch out for crowded teeth. If you have crowded teeth, make sure you get that looked at and potentially get it resolved. That is like the number one sure way for you to ensure that you have a decreased chance of having gum disease and having bad breath. The second is for you to actually go see the dentist regularly, because a lot of times when you do have gum disease, when you do have these kind of issues, you develop these kind of big pockets. Okay, you develop these pockets in between your teeth, in between your roots, and your bones. And so the bacteria gets accumulated in there, and it becomes literally impossible for you to get rid of all that bacterial load, and then that leads to bad breath. So I hope that helped you out. I hope that helped you out with regards to you maybe being aware of even potentially having bad breath, and maybe asking your significant other, or maybe a friend, a close friend, or a family member, whether or not you have bad breath, and then dealing with that moving forward. Hope you're having a non bad breath type of day. And until next time, and as always, keep smiling.